Thank you so much for appearing in EQ Shala's channel. It's a pleasure to have you. Would you like to get introduced?
Yeah, actually, I'm very happy to connect with you, especially for a cause that involves teenagers and school children. And I'm Goldy. I did my PhD in cognitive science with my work focusing on learning and memory. And currently, I'm a neuroscience researcher working on areas that involve trying to understand how humans learn new skills. What are the brain areas that are supporting that kind of behavior, and what explains better retention of those learned skills in humans and young, particularly young adults.
Wow, just by hearing this, I'm so much fascinated. I'm so very looking forward to our discussion.
So,
As you know, just to give a brief, EQ Shala focuses more predominantly on empowering teens and youth. Uh, the teenage years, it's like a lot that's going on in their world. When we say it's like the second window of opportunity and their brain is still in the formation, we would like to hear from you on so what is that we need to be aware of when it comes to teenage brain?
yeah, so for teenagers, particularly when you look at the brain, for human beings, the brain is actually not developed when the human baby is born. It continues to develop after birth, and typically now the understanding in the field is that it takes around 25 years of adult life for the brain to be fully functional and adapted to the environment that it is in. Now, for teenagers, what happens that this is the time period, typically starting from 12 until 18, where rapid changes in their body and the brain is happening. So we all know that there are a lot of hormonal changes that are happening in their body for development, and that is assisted and actually happening parallelly with the brain changes. And in the brain, what we see is that, or what we know from the studies so far, is that there are two different systems that help you in your behavior and guide your day-to-day function. You have the emotional system of your brain, and you have the part of the brain which is more rational, decides, does higher level thinking. And so we know that the emotional system of the brain is actually quite active in these teenagers, but the areas that are involved in decision making or doing these high level thinking, they mature later. And these are typically, this is actually, if I can just point, it's really here. So it's called the prefrontal cortex. It's really front part of your brain. And this one we know from a lot of imaging studies that this is the last one to develop for humans. And so for teenagers, this is undergoing a lot of development, and they have to adjust to those changes that are happening within them.
Yeah, yeah. As you really touched upon this key point, we could empathize more on what's happening with teenagers, no? All those emotional outbursts that we see, and all of a sudden just bursting out, and
Exactly, exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
for example, if as an adult, if you tell me I want to eat like fifth bar of chocolate, and you would say, no, no, don't eat that. I know it's not good for me because I can do those calculations in my brain that I've already eaten four, the fifth one will not be good for me. It's a lot of sugar, it's bad in long term. This kind of assessment adult brain can do, but for teenagers, it's very difficult because they do not have that part fully developed at that time, which can do this kind of calculation that if I eat chocolate now, it will be bad for me in the long term. Because they are just driven by their emotional behavior, and they just want the sugar rush or the taste, which is very good. They want it immediately, and they can't do that calculation in their brain, and therefore it's very difficult for them to even understand why you are stopping them from having another one, because they feel it's good for me, it makes me feel good, so why can't I have it now?
Right, yeah, yeah. If I could replace that chocolate with the screen time, that's what is exactly
Same,
happening.
same.
Yeah, with gadgets.
Actually, it's worse. So it's actually worse with the screen time. Chocolate, I think they will still stop. They will the taste bud at least will saturate. But with the screen, it's more of a, yeah, it's even more stronger response.
Mm. Yeah, and especially when they're emotionally attached to gadgets.
Yes. And on top of it, what we don't realize that the algorithms that are working on these platforms that they're engaging with are designed to keep them there.
Right.
So then they are, yeah, so then they're really trying to attract them, and then we are trying to take them away from it, and it's yeah, it's a disaster.
Yeah, yeah. Then they start seeing the adults who are telling this as like, oh, are you my enemy?
Because yeah, because exactly, because those stimuli from from the softwares, the apps that they are, the social media apps especially, are designed to tap into your emotional system. So they are supposed to bypass the logic, rational decision making processing and tap into your emotional system. And therefore, it's very easy to be hooked onto that. And you take teenage population, which is already working on that mode, and then you give them the phone and all these apps without any checks, and then they're really, it's like it's made for them and really bad for them, but they can't understand it at that point.
Yeah. You were
Because
saying that prefrontal cortex is the last part to develop and which involves the rational decision making, right? Which means that do you think there is a way for us to teach this as a skill where they could learn to regulate their emotions better, or do we need to just live like this?
yeah, I think there are two things that I see for this kind of scenario, or I think the field also understands that. One is that you have kids who are getting that kind of knowledge or education that this is happening to them, so that they are aware of these changes that are happening in their body and their brain, so that then it is better for them to understand why they are behaving like that. And then the second is to have caregivers, parents, teachers around them who also have this kind of knowledge. And now you have created a system where the teenager knows that these are the changes that are happening within me. And I have a system which is not fully online, which means I rely more on the adult to make critical decisions of my, let's say, of something that I
Right.
want to do. Then I'm more dependent on my caregiver, and then you prepare the caregivers around to have that kind of responsibility towards the teenager, that you can't just tell them to not do this and expect them they will not do it. You have to understand that they are working on a brain which is making them do that, and it's very difficult for them to be behaving like adults. So you have to prepare both the teenagers to make them understand that these changes are happening within them. It's going to take some time. They have to be patient, and same for the parents and the caregivers, that they understand that this is the time that you have to, because teenagers are driven by their emotional behavior, emotional impulses. You have to make them understand that, okay, you can empathize with them. You understand
Yeah.
why they are doing it. I think that it itself will calm them, that you
Right.
understand what they're going through, because it's a lot, right? Something is happening in your body that you don't know how to understand. And also, one thing that we know, that the lot of emotional things that happen in them, they also don't have the verbal uh, uh, how to say,
Vocabulary.
capability to put it, yeah, to put
Right.
what they are feeling, because that part of the brain has not been fully functional yet. So they are
Beautiful.
very
Beautiful.
confused. Yeah, they're very
Yeah,
confused.
yeah.
So you need adults who are also trained and educated to understand how to handle teenagers at that time.
And
Yeah.
precisely what we see that in almost every teenager who works with us, right? They come with this confusion and go out with this clarity when they're able to understand and create that self-awareness of what's going on with them, empathize with themselves better, right?
Yeah.
And parents also able to empathize with them better. And as they learn these skills to regulate, become aware, many of these things create a beautiful positive impact.
Yeah.
And that is what our program precisely does.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. Um,
Awareness is the key, I think, especially for brain and your own behavior. If you are aware of what is going on within you, in your mind, I think that is a big, huge step towards tackling any problem then.
so that naturally leads me to the next question of when you say awareness is the key, parents are telling them, hey, this is what is happening, right?
Mm.
And that should create the awareness, but instead what is happening is somehow they can't take it when it comes out from the parents, and especially advice, the natural response or reaction to that is like rebel against it, right? And
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yes.
hear your inputs. What is your take on that? Why are we seeing this kind of thing? Because it's very natural for a parent to educate them. right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
tell,
Yeah.
no, the screen time is not good for you. You got to focus
Yeah.
on your studies. Can you take your book and put away your phone? Very natural things that parents say, but it's not somehow taken in the right spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, as I told you, that since they are working on a system which is very emotionally active, and the fact that they cannot assess very well that if I do something now, what are the long-term repercussions of this? So that assessment is a bit missing in their brain at the moment. And because there is this conflict that why can't I engage in something which is making me feel good now? And so if you are telling me to not do it, then you are my enemy. Actually, that's how the thinking starts, that you are not thinking about my well-being because I want to do something which is making me happy now, and you are stopping me from doing that. So that's how the thinking happens normally in that period, and that makes them rebel against it. That okay, you are not concerned about my happiness because you're stopping me from doing something which makes me happy now. Okay, because they cannot understand that later this will be bad for them, so they can't do that calculation yet. And then they start to rebel. They also want to assert their independent identity, right? This is the
Yeah,
time also of their life where they want to sort of separate from their parents and also start to establish their own identity, which is also now being shaped by their peers or the schoolmates, the friends that they have in school. So their own peers are also influencing how they are thinking about themselves. And on top of that, you have parents who are trying to discipline you, and it's not going too well. So I think maybe sometimes I feel that the tone in which the parents would say stuff would also have a big impact. Trying to maybe also share their own experiences because they were teenager once. The teenagers are not adults yet, so the parents have to bring actually them back to that level of how they were as teenagers and try to talk to them in that kind of language which will make them understand. Okay, these are challenges that they also went through, and they have gone through this, so maybe what they are saying comes from experience and maybe I can rely more on that. And the second thing which helps is also what kind of peers they have. Actually, that a lot of studies show that have a bigger impact. That's why they are glued to social media and they get influenced by that a lot, because they are really learning a lot from their peers, more
yeah.
than actually the parents, because they connect with them more age
Hmm.
wise.
Hmm.
So what kind of circles they are part of in school or after school, what kind of communities they join, that would have a bigger impact on how they process things, actually. So putting them maybe in class, no, I wouldn't say classes, but maybe groups where they are engaged in learning. So let's say if you have your friends who are also interested in learning about what is happening in the brain when I'm a teenager, then that will have a bigger impact on them than they alone going to the class because parents have enrolled them in the class. So these kind of things would actually,
Yeah.
yeah, if you have your friends together with you, then you learn together, and that would result in more positive understanding, and then realization that okay, this is for my own good. I am building my self awareness. I see my friends are doing the same thing, so that would have built a different kind of momentum than parents just telling them. See, it's an instructional thing usually doesn't work. That
Exactly.
do
Exactly.
that. That works for
Exactly.
adults because we know that we have to get things done, but not for teenagers.
Yeah, and even adults, no. Do we like somebody keeps saying
Yeah, we don't.
do this,
Yeah,
do that, right? So the
yeah.
very
I have learned a very interesting way of saying it. I think you would say that if I were you, I would do this.
exactly, right?
Just
Yeah,
rephrase it. Yeah,
that's what we say while communicating to an adult, and
yeah,
the learning pedagogy, right? Andragogy,
yeah,
pedagogy itself is very different. How the adults learn and how the kids learn is very different, and the adolescent now is kind of in between, right? So we cannot go with a complete play way of learning, not like an adult. So it's a combination of these things that work. That's what I'm seeing through my sessions. And as you rightly said, we bring in first point of entry is a group session where we bring in teenagers of same age group across locations across India, And
right.
when they participate in a group session, they also see their peers reflecting. They also see their perspectives from their peers. That gives them, okay, I'm not alone in this journey,
Yes, yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly. That's why our school system is the way it is, right? It's based on the Gurukul system where you bring people who are similar age together so
Right.
that they know, okay, this is not just my own experience. And in school, of course, we are learning things which are not related to ourselves in maths, physics, chemistry. We are learning about the outer world. But if you have classes on psychology, emotional regulation, neuroscience, then you will have shared realizations that, oh my
Yeah.
God, you, because people would ask questions and then they would realize, oh, you also felt like that. I also feel like that. Ah, it's similar. Then it's not really something to be worried about or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
it's manageable because if it's a shared experience, it's something
Uh-huh.
that I can work
Uh-huh.
on. Classes, you can't push kids too much. It's they are not getting enough sleep. Then they will, of course, be more cranky. They would try to argue with you more. And it's,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm just going to empathize with on the parent side for a moment and right.
Yeah, of course, parents are thinking they are well wishers, of course, but
That's true, right? And also imagine this delaying the sleep by looking at the screen, staring at it for a
yeah.
long period of time. Is it worth it? Right?
No, yeah, but
Yeah.
that's the thing that there is a tendency for teenagers to be awake till late. Now, because they are awake, everybody's sleeping in the house at night. So if teenagers are awake, what are they going to do in today's time? At least in our time, we did not have phones, so that was not the option to be on. But we would try to read some comic books or something like that at night. I remember my parents would snatch that away if they would see me. Now kids are on phone. And
Yeah,
phones are, of course, now responsible for further pushing your sleep, right? Because the
yeah,
light from the phone is
correct,
disrupting your sleep cycle even more. At
correct,
least with us, after reading the book, we would feel tired and fall asleep.
correct.
But with the phones, it's getting, yeah, the sleep is disrupted even more.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So this is like an endless conversation with the
Learning,
screens.
yeah.
To
Yeah. Also,
summarize,
the,
hmm.
yeah, yeah, please go ahead.
No, you were trying to say one more point, please. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I want to say just from neuroscience point of view that this population is also not very well studied because we don't have a lot of studies where we can recruit teenagers and study them because that requires special ethical clearance because their brain is so fragile that you don't want to influence or have some kind of impact on that. So limited studies are possible, and this is what we know from what we have done so far in the field. And of
Yeah.
course, in the coming years, we would know more. And now, especially how they are interacting with new technology around them, that needs to be studied actually much sooner than later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, the number of studies might be limited, but the number of experiences we have been having with teenagers for centuries together,
Universal. Yeah.
right? It's universal, and yeah, that knowledge has been passed on how they do. And typically, if you see the setup, as you said, they are learning. Their learning is now beyond the parents. They start looking up to the peers, to the outside world. It's beyond those four walls, right?
Yeah.
So that is how many right influence or wrong influence, it just comes quickly because of their
Very much.
interaction with their peers,
Agree.
and also non-parental adults, right? Because
Yeah.
they want to hear different perspectives.
Yeah.
When we keep pushing it only through one channel, which is the parenting channel, sometime what happens is, right, they start rebelling. And
Yes. Yes. And
earlier,
then they start to create distance from the parents.
yeah, yeah. And earlier the channel was also very organic, natural. No, they had a lot of non-parental trusted adults to access through.
Yeah.
Now it's very limited only to parents, and the second immediate thing is the teachers, uh,
Yeah.
whom also they interact with throughout the day, and
Yeah.
with much more focus on academics, right? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. That clearly says that this is a crucial period, and we got to help them regulate emotions better, and we got to help them learn the skills. Definitely not by advising, but by helping them through enabling their self awareness and
Yeah.
introducing them through a lot of group learning, connections with trusted non-parented adults to make the best use of this prime teen years.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much,
My
Goldie.
pleasure.
It
My
was
pleasure.
fantastic listening to you and learning from you, especially from neuroscience point of view. Though many of these things are existing in the Indic wisdom, neuroscience gives us, with the latest inventions, what is happening in the field. Thank you so much for sharing that.